bunch of questions that weren't. He sent me a text and was like, sweet, blah, blah, and I was like, what?
So that's.
I'm like,
what-
and I told John, just ask. They haven't even reached out to us yet. They just used our.
No, that's yours, and then Karen had me put one at everybody's,
Yeah.
I mean,
desk.
what you would have gotten
You got-
from the warrant.
Right. Well, that was it.
Well,
Yeah,
they don't have,
city commission.
they don't have enough people.
City.
Yes. He told me. You got plans after your last day?
Oh, I know. I already wrote mine down.
6:20. Cool.
And Brock, are you gonna stick with your 6:38?
I am.
Wow,
That'll be
I know.
a once in a lifetime.
great. Well, I was just writing this down so I can come to your retirement party.
I got it, Barry. I'll be there.
Katie, did you want to do this before we start?
Appreciate everything you've done for us over the years.
Well, since we don't have Dave, we're taking, Katie's taking a quick picture.
Okay.
Well, that's not what I wanted the picture for. I thought you were just. Is this pretending she's handing it to me?
What am I gonna?
So Don pretend you're handing it to me. Or just hand it to me. You're handing it to me. No, you're handing it to me. Oh, I see. Okay, pretend. Okay.
Congratulations.
Then I'm gonna say 8 twice.
When do we-
Negative. Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full.
Oh, that's this, which is a good thing.
Right, not my problem. Right?
Well, we just added to number, we just added as a number 5, so I'll just ask. Or maybe.
Who's that?
No, because this isn't official yet. So we'll add and subtract and then we can motion to put it as presented.
That's amazing.
We're missing a date.
All right.
There he is.
Do you want us to approve the agenda and then go into the election? Because then you can make the addition to the agenda that you want to make.
Yeah, we could do that.
That might make things easier. Is that right?
Why do you need to get in on it?
Is that right?
No,
All right.
I would think so.
Call the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Park District of the City of Fargo to order. First issue or first item is to approve the agenda or to see if there's any changes to the agenda.
Yes, Madam President, we have one change to the agenda. I found out today from Mr. Beats that we're going to be applying for a land and water grant. So we need the board to consider for approval to allow staff to apply for this grant through the current land and water conservation fund. So we need records in our minutes showing that the commission has given us staff approval to apply for this grant. So as part of the application of the agency applying for the grant needs to have a resolution or minutes showing the authorization. So there's the record of that. Information on the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is a 50-50 matching grant reimbursement program administered at the state level by North Dakota Parks and Recreation Department, NDRP or NDPR, NDPRD, and funded at the federal level by the U.S. Department of the Interior, National Park and National Park Service. The Land and Water Conservation Fund provides grants for outdoor recreation projects such as ball fields, pools, campgrounds, playgrounds, and land acquisitions for park development. So a sample motion would be a vote to approve directing staff to apply for the grant through the current Land and Water Conservation Fund, but we can cover that
Okay,
later.
so we will add it as number 5 on the regular agenda.
All right.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the election of the officers.
Well, hold on a second. Don't we have to approve the agenda as presented now?
That happens in the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Got it. So we're adding number 5 grant proposal to the agenda. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through the guidelines for election of officers since we do it infrequently, and then we'll go right into it. So the board elects the officers to serve for the following 12-month period. Those persons who serve as officers are nominated by other members of the board. The offices of president and vice president rotate every year. The procedures we'll use for the election of the officers is the current president calls for nominations from members of the board. Current president, even though presiding at the meeting, may nominate. A board member could simply nominate X for president and Y for vice president. No second to the nomination is necessary. The presiding officer would ask if there's any additional nominations for the offices of president and/or vice president. And then we close the nominations. And when the process is finished, I call for a voice vote. We can do the president and the vice president. We can change seats all at the same time. And if there's more than one person, we would then go into a contested race. And once a person has a majority of the potential votes, the election would be complete. So with that said, I would like to nominate Don Morgan for the position of president and Joe Deutsch for the position of vice president. Are there any other nominations?
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, so the nominations close, and I'm just going to call for a voice vote. All those in favor of voting for Don Morgan for president, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. Don is elected as the president. And all those in favor of Joe Deutsch for vice president, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. All right, Joe Deutsch is now our vice president, and we can all get up and rotate.
I get to stay here, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You don't have to go anywhere.
Do you want to?
I haven't left that seat in years.
Change is sometimes good.
I haven't been to this side of it in 16 years. I haven't been on this side.
I've sat in almost every seat now.
My microphone's on the left. Also, microphone's always
Yep.
right.
I think we didn't we? Or we're going to do it again? That was the fourth.
Oh, you know what? I have to, before I turn over the floor, I wanted to say a couple things. First, I wanted to just recognize Stacy for serving, Stacy Griggs for serving. We're going to gather with her afterwards, but just want to recognize her 4 years on the board. It was an honor for me to serve with her. It was a pleasure. She taught me a lot. I felt that she was very helpful to the board and to the park district, and just appreciate her time serving. Second thing I wanted to mention, which we just found out, officially is Barry Amundsen is retiring from the forum, and he has covered the Fargo Park District for a few years. And I just want to tell you thank you, because you've always been very fair and you've been very thorough, and you've done a really nice job covering the Park District and representing us well. And it's really been a pleasure to work with you and have you writing good articles about the Park District and representing us well. So we wish you all the best. And when the Island Park pool opens, you're going to be one of the first ones in line for a new cannonball, I think. There you go. Okay, so now I'll step away.
Okay. You got the photo, or you want another? Okay, I'd like to present this to Vicki. Thank you for serving as our president. Good
Yep.
job.
Thank you very much.
See, we want to, have we approved the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. We're going to recognize the audience. Are there any who would like to make public comments?
Oh,
What's that?
oh, you just changed order. My fault. I apologize for
Okay.
that. So I guess we need to approve the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Do we need a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
All in favor?
Dave,
Oh.
please pull the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Right. I see that we do have guests tonight. Are you interested in speaking? No?
I think they're going to do a presentation.
Item number
Great.
3.
Okay, number 3.
See the baseball cap he's wearing?
I do.
He's number 3, Fargo Post 400
Oh,
baseball.
okay.
He
presentation.
should be number 400, but we moved him up to number 3.
I don't think I've ever seen Jeff without a baseball cap.
I see. Okay, well, let's move on to the director's report. Would we like to begin with Dave?
Yes, Madam President, and we'll begin our director's report with our finance director, Brock Leitz, sitting to my right.
Thank you, Dave. Madam President, members of the board, quick update from finance. Many of you, or all of you, did attend the budget meeting last week. It's all things budget at this point as we prepare for preliminary budget, which we'll be bringing to you at the end of July, and for preliminary approval in August, and continuing on with that process. As you are aware, the budget that we presented to you at the last budget meeting did have a deficit, which we're working through. We're working with all the directors, them through their departments to prioritize both staffing as well as capital projects to get that budget into balance and get it prepared for your approval at upcoming meetings. So the bulk of the time that we're spending really on a daily basis is making sure we get our budget where it needs to be. The other thing that I have to share is good news that we just found out before the meeting, because many of you know of this. Luke Evenson, our controller, he and his wife had their baby today. And so it was premature, and all things are going well. They had a baby boy, Nolan David Evenson. And so Luke, literally minutes before we came down here, sent me a text and notified me of that arrival. And so we're very happy for him as well. So I know many of you are aware that that was forthcoming. So I want to
So
make sure you knew
you
that.
guys didn't make him make the middle name David, did you? Because it seems
Yes, we
to
did.
be a theme in the park district. All the Daves.
Do you know the first name?
Nolan David.
So thank you, Brock. Moving on down the line to my left, we'll have our Parks Director, Dave Beets.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening, commissioners. Just a quick update from your Parks Department. It's in the line of staffing. You may remember that as part of this year's budget, we have an approved position for a facility manager. I'm happy to report that working with the HR team, we're on the doorstep of getting that position underway. We're currently scheduling interviews for that spot. This is a position that we've had in our sights for quite a while. I think it's really going to be a pivotal position that's going to really help us forecast out our capital planning for all of our facilities and buildings. So just wanted to provide you with that update and let you know that we're working towards getting somebody into that role here within the next month or so.
How many total applicants and how many interviews?
We had 14 total applicants, and we had 4 people score those applicants, and we're going to interview the top 5 of that scoring.
Who's on your interview committee?
It's myself. Kevin Bowe has agreed to sit in as well, since currently a lot of the facility care is underneath his current purview. Tyler Kirschner, our current project manager, who also is in charge of our carpenters at this point, so he has a very good perspective there. And then an HR representative, Stacy Kruger, our HR manager, and then myself will be the interview panel.
This person works for you? Reports
This
to you?
person will be a direct report to myself, yes.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave. And moving on to Brian Arrett, our Valley Senior Services Director and Foundation Director.
Thanks, Dave. I don't really have anything huge to report. We are at the midway point of this year, June 30th. So I was just looking at numbers of meals that we've served in Cass County. And the last year that we operated normally, 2019, we did 99,000 meals in the first 6 months of the year. This year, we did 129,000. So better than a 30% increase over 2 years, 3 years ago, normal years. Started ramping up during COVID, is continuing to go up at a much less aggressive sort of rate, but underscores how the how the pandemic impacted us, and the challenges, for providers like us throughout the state. dealing with the growth in the number of elderly people. So that's all.
Did your daily attendance, in-person attendance ever come back to the level that it was after the pandemic?
You know, it's a little bit hit and miss. At the Clap Park site, for instance, we're back to where we were pre-pandemic, maybe even a little bit stronger. And a lot of them are new people.
Oh.
You know, people that we hadn't seen before.
Sure.
Trowood is about the same. Broadway Station is still kind of light. You know, so those centers, the freestanding community-based types of centers are doing okay. The smaller centers that are located in housing facilities, not so much. So that's the impact.
Would you attribute that to more elderly staying in their homes and having services to help support them to do so?
That and the kind of the increase in the number of older people. I mean, it's going up at a higher rate than the general population. You know, the 85 and older population especially has been growing more rapidly for the last 20 years. And wanting to stay in home certainly is a dominant theme for that age group.
Is that the baby boom generation or is that still coming up?
Baby boom is 1945. So yeah, it's that's coming up.
Coming.
Yeah,
That's coming
yeah,
up.
and they're more independent than the previous generation.
Yeah,
And living longer, I think, as well, right?
right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's good news for all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So basically more demand is what you kind of think. There's more demand for the meals.
So with that said,
Volunteers, if you want to help deliver Meals on Wheels, call our office, 293-1440. Thanks.
What was that number again?
931-440.
Thank you.
You guys are relentless.
hey, any chance you get to ask people to help, it's a good time.
Thank you, Brian. And moving on, we have Carolyn Botain, our Director of Enterprise.
Commissioners, July is Park and Rec Month. So we have been working with events to do pop-up events. And our first pop-up event was at Trollwood Park. We did sidewalk chalk and jump ropes. This week, later, Thursday, once we get the equipment to Lindenwood, we will be having bubbles and making your own pet rock at the Rotary Shelter. And the goal is to get folks active in the parks near them, as well as to discover new and exciting things that they just happen to stumble upon in some of our parks. And so again, through social media engagement and just happening to use the parks, they will find some of these great events and activities. So lots of fun in July. Yonker Farm Master Plan, we will start advertising for the consultants tomorrow. And the proposals are due back in August. And so again, we'll look forward to presenting that for the board to discuss in September. And then Courts Plus, next week, we'll be adding a new piece of equipment into the playground. We've been looking at putting in some kind of a climbing wall piece where the ball pit is. And again, for those that are familiar with that, that's where they have these big exercise balls. So we're going to move that out and with the help of the carpenters install some new pieces there. And so the mornings of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, it will be closed for that installation. And then after that, we'll see how the kids enjoy this new play equipment.
So it'll be more like a bouldering wall, like a short.
It's not huge, but it'll be definitely for little people.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Because the rest of the playground obviously will stay the same. So we're not taking the whole 36 feet, but it'll be more along the lines of 6 to 8 feet.
And that my boys stop beating the crap out of each other with those plyo
We'll
balls.
find another way. So that's what we have for enterprise.
All right. Thank you, Carolyn. And Kevin Bowe, our Recreation Director.
Good evening, Commissioners. So our staff has been meeting with the marketing group to start planning the last day of Island Park Pool. We're going to have an event down there. We're going to invite, the conversation just started today, so we'll meet over these next several weeks. But the plan is to invite the old staff back, as many as that can come. And then obviously that last day, the 21st down there, that we'll have an open date for people to come swim. So we're planning something with the marketing team and the events team, so more to come on that information.
I'm sorry, your last day is August
21st,
21st?
correct.
And that's the date that you'll do some sort of an event? Or not sure.
Not sure right
Okay.
now. We're going to probably have one event on the 21st, but one before that as well.
So we're closing early this summer.
Yes. We're also working with Zerberg on the pool design. We have another meeting set for next week. Tony with Zerberg will be at the facilities committee meeting at the end of the month to update the commissioners on exactly where we're at with renderings and drawings and that. So that conversation will happen on the 27th of July. Also, the golf course signage is going in at the entrances of all golf courses right now. Final installation will be on the 13th, tomorrow. They've got some miscellaneous ones with the restaurants to hang. As soon as they get the artwork for that, those will be done. Also, the Coliseum will be done. It looks like still waiting on a little bit of a start date. And then with the parking lot up there, it's kind of a little bit of a mess, but we'll get that. That is in production right now. So as soon as that gets done, we will have those signage up.
And it's going to say Fargo Parks,
Yes, it does.
John C. Coliseum,
Yes, it does.
John C. Curl.
On 17th and the front entrance.
Nice.
Yep, so it'll be nice. That's what I got.
All right, thank you, directors. And just one final update on we've had previous meetings and it works out well with post 400 in attendance tonight. We'll be looking at setting up another kind of stakeholders meeting for master planning of the Anderson Tharaldson site. I did reach out to some of the stakeholders and wanted to make sure we didn't conflict with any of the state, regional, and World Series possibilities for baseballs with kind of the excellent teams we've had these last two seasons, with post 2 getting in 2 years ago and post 400 getting in last year. So we'll probably look at that third week of August for that meeting. And I know we had contacted Commissioner Rosted and contact Commissioner Dawson. So maybe be prepared if we send out an invite for that, and probably look again on that Friday. I think it's August 19th. So just kind of an FYI out to you two commissioners. So that's all I have right now, Madam President. And
Thank you. I'd like to invite Jeff Gould of Fargo Post 400 Baseball to bring his presentation to us. Right up here.
You can go up there too, Kevin.
oh yeah, Jeff, you got to get in front of the mic there.
Just pretend you're announcing the game.
I'm not afraid to talk. Do we have the? Okay, awesome. First off, we have some new people here. Myself, I'm Jeff Gould. I'm the president of Post 400 and also a member of Fargo Youth Baseball. This is Kevin Kidder. He's our treasurer and actually the brains behind Post 400. It's not myself. We both work at Microsoft, and we appreciate the ability to come and talk to you and tell you a little bit about our program and kind of how we do things. And if I go offline of what you were wanting to have, just butt in, and we're trying to leave a lot of time for questions you might have about the program. So we are Fargo Metro Baseball Association, and it was chartered in 2010. It was kind of for lack of a better term, an independent type of organization for a number of years. Kevin and I got involved 6 years ago. We got involved with it, and we then played at Bennett Field, which south side of town. And we came to the Park District and asked them if we could perhaps move to then Helling Field and try to improve our program and get more kids involved. And we were able to do that in 2019. The Park District allowed us to go in there. And with our partnership, we went ahead and did the first kind of rendering here we see, which is the turfed infield, the wiffle ball field, which I know Commissioner Deutsch's son uses constantly, and some batting cages. So we went ahead there. I believe that was about, I'd have to ask, it was about $1 million with Fargo Youth Baseball and us in the Park District in unison with that. Went ahead and did that in 2019, and it allowed us to expand to a third team. We have 3 teams. We have a AA team, the Stars, and then the Astros and the Comets, which are Class A. The ages of that run from 15 to 19. And last year, really good year. Obviously, we were able to finish second in the state and capture the Central Plains Regional Championship and go to the World Series in Shelby, North Carolina, which was pretty incredible for a Legion program that's only been around for 6 years. And there's only 6 teams in the history of the state that have ever accomplished that. So we were pretty proud of that. We had some great kids and great coaches and a lot of support from around the community to allow us to do that. But Post 2 obviously had a tremendous amount of success, and they had accomplished that 2 years before. There was a year in between, obviously, with the pandemic. So obviously a really, really fun year. So thanks again for allowing us to get into Star Inn and do that, because without moving to that facility, none of this was possible.
Hey,
There's
Jeff,
no chance.
Jeff, quick question.
Sure.
So the difference between A and AA, is that age? Is
No,
that age
no, sir.
division?
No,
It's not.
it's based on, quite frankly, ability.
Talent or,
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just so you, just good question. Just so you know, the Astro team, much like the Fargo Bomber team, that is a 16U team, but they do play in Class A. Okay. We do have off-season workouts at another Park District facility, the Attic, along with Fargo Youth Baseball, another really good partner of ours. And we conduct those December through March, when you can start playing, or in this year, June. But we do that. We also started a spring season this year in March down in Vero Beach, Florida, which was well received, obviously, by the kids. And some other things we do around the community. We do a lot of camps for youth, anywhere between 5 and before 15. We also, we're a Legion program. It's important to us to give back, and we were able to expand. We actually won an award this year for the fastest growing Legion post in the state of North Dakota. And we started a Sons of American Legion, which for people like myself who didn't serve, but their parents or grandparents did. And we're also the fastest growing SAL in the state. So it's important for us to give back. And we also have those organizations come along with some, PTSD that we did last year. We had them, invited them to our year-end banquet, and we're able to award $10,000 in checks to those people. It's just, I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, without being able to get into that field and without the help of the Daves here, none of this would have been possible. I mean, we were, my first year, I took over the presidency. I went out and led us to a win the first game, and then we dropped 30 straight. So that was at Bennett. And I haven't gotten any smarter, but with the facilities, we've gotten better kids and better coaches.
So, and what's the difference between Post 400 and Post 2? Is it geography? Can the kids choose?
The kids can choose whatever
They can
program
choose
they
which
want.
program they would like to sort of
Yes, sir.
try out for.
Yes, sir.
I would assume try out and, okay.
Yes, sir. No. And then I guess if we
Have
want
to
to
be
go.
Fargo, correct?
Yes,
Fargo
sir.
resident?
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to be in
Gotcha.
Fargo.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thanks.
And then some of the improvements we've done since the initial ones that you allowed us to do. We added the second grandstand you'll see there with the overhang and a second press box. And that was needed due to the fact that we stream all of our games. So the original press box up there is now just for streaming and the play-by-play. We also added a new speaker system. If we did go back to the original thing, we had some issues with the bullpens. They held water really well. So we went ahead and turfed those. We also have one of the biggest issues we have down at the facility with the 4 fields is there's just a lack of batting cages, and it's just a nightmare during tournaments. So we were able to kind of expand those and adding some hitting stations. You'll see the Daves know I'm not a huge fan of chain links. So we padded everything up and down the lines basically for safety, to be quite honest with you, because I've seen too many kids get cut up and get hurt. So we were able to do that. We added a batter's eye in the outfield and put some fake ivy on it to help with that. added a flagpole and then another 29 passenger bus. That's all within the last year. And I would like to thank the Fargo Park District Foundation. We've won twice to been granted from them. We only used one kind of thing, it kind of fell through, but we appreciated that help very much. It was great of you guys to help us out, and they helped us out with that grandstand.
I was going to say it was the batter's eye. Yeah.
The batter's eye was actually through Fargo Youth Baseball, so it wasn't actually post 400.
Turf in the outfield right now too?
So, yeah, I was,
Was that
well,
leading? Absolutely.
we're obviously very aggressive in what we want to do, and obviously we're going to work with you in what we can and can't do. We have some visions, and as Doug Burgum would tell us when we worked for him at Great Plains Software, be dangerous dreamers, dream big. And we do have some plans that we'd like to do down there. And one of those does involve turfing the outfield. And because we have visions on, we want the Central Plains Regional here in Fargo. We also want, there's a college baseball conference that's called the North Star Conference, which is through Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, and North Dakota. And we can get that. But we've got to make some more improvements to that field in order to get that. And I might be coming to you soon to ask for if we can do that. It's on our radar. Let's just put it that way.
What and when is the Central Plains Regional? And
the Central Plains Regional is the Central Plains Regional is what we captured last year, and Post 2 captured 3 years ago. Right now, currently, it resides in Rapid City for the next 2 years. Rapid City has a absolutely phenomenal facility that their park district and them went in and put $5 million into it, and it's probably one of the finest facilities. I've watched a few baseball games in my day. It's top notch. It's minor league quality. It's it's Red Hawk Stadium. Trust me, it's Newman. It really is. It's phenomenal, and they've captured that for the next 2 years, and then there will be open bidding after that.
And the turf will help. Is it later in the season? Is that why?
The issue is we had it at Sioux Falls the last 2 years, and when it rains, it doesn't sit good, and it actually, I think I'll put it this way, Sioux Falls, what did they do this spring after all the delays they had last year? The entire field's turfed this spring. So they went ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
So maybe Jeff, touch on that, the turf and what does the turf allow? And I kind of know, but I just want to kind of prep you, but
Sure.
What does the turf allow for, say, spring baseball into the fall, rainouts? I mean, is this something, as we talk through this master planning of the site, is it something that we would like to do all the field, like all 4 or 5 fields, infields, outfields, just infields, or what are some thoughts?
Well, I don't know if you have to go as far as everything on all the fields, but in terms of turfing the infield, if we didn't do that the 3 years ago, there's no way we could have done spring baseball. No chance. Not up here. Sure, you have a good year every 5 years, but absolutely not. We never would have. We spent a lot of money on doing the spring, and we did it because we have that. And without that, we never would have jumped in the deep end of the pool. The simple fact of the matter is, if you want these things in the college baseball thing, listen, this is early May. And if you're playing if there's grass even on the outfield, they're not coming here. They're not going to come to Fargo and spend the money, or whoever has it. It has to be a turf field. Now, Council Bluffs, they got it. Guess what they got? It's turfed. The whole entire field is. So to get those bigger tournaments, you got to have it. You know, personally, I'd rather play on grass, to be honest with you, but I'm an old man. But in order to get those now, that's what it takes.
My experience, which is not the vast experience that Jeff has, but just from having baseball players, my experience has been when it starts raining, they get to keep playing. And they can play right after it's rained, and they can play the next day after it's rained. And so So our local kids get more games because you're not waiting for all the water to dry up and run off, and we can't wreck the field. Don't go on the field because it just rained.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's-
Sundays,
That's been my experience.
Sunday
for-
was a perfect example. It was
Local kids.
raining and hailed and we were playing an hour later.
Which is nice.
And you weren't going to play on Teamsters. So,
I saw the lights on Sunday and I started laughing because I figured you guys were out there, but I just want to make a comment. We met, was talked about earlier with Post 2, Post 400, Fargo Youth Baseball. And, you know, I think at least myself anyway, and some of the other commissioners have been talking about how do we unify baseball in Fargo. And when I first raised the question, I was like, there's no way we could ever get these grouped together and blah, blah, blah. And so I really want to commend Post 400, Fargo Youth Baseball, and Post 2 for at least sitting down and having these civil conversations, because you know, I don't know if we're going to get to that here, but we could have something magical out there at the complex if we do it right. And I think it would be for everyone's benefit if we do it right. But we got to make sure that, you know, all the clubs are happy, they get what they need. But the work you guys have done at Starion has just been phenomenal. It's quite the complex.
thank you. And I guess a couple things that I would point out is there things get said about us all. I think Fargo's a really good baseball town, and we have 3 really good organizations, and we're better. The sum are greater than parts, right? I mean, we're all better off together. And they've been both very good to us. They really have. So we appreciated sitting down with them and being included at the table. I mean, guys, we're 6 years old. We're 7 years old. You guys could have, no one did that to us. FYB didn't, you didn't, Post 2 didn't. So we just appreciate having a seat at the table. And honestly, in terms of concerns we have, obviously, I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and lie. I mean, I'm concerned about a road, right? I'm concerned about something happening to that complex because you got something that could be a real jewel. It's a rough diamond now, and it could be unbelievable, and it could allow us to do some things that are pretty special around here, not only for the kids, but for the community. And, you know, we kind of live by the motto at Post 400 is we try to do 2 things with kids: make them better baseball players, make them better kids. And if we can only achieve one of them, make sure it's the latter, make sure they're better kids, because that's more important. So, and again, you guys, I can't thank you enough when I've called and asked for something. You haven't always said yes, but you at least listened. So, and I commend the workers you had out. I know I sent Dave a couple text messages this weekend. I've done their thankless job that those kids did that were college kids, and they were top notch this weekend. They were class A people, and we appreciated it. They were, again, great partnership. So I commend them. Give them $50 out of petty cash on me. All right. So, but are there any other questions? We kind of came in here a little, I didn't really know what you wanted here. I was hoping it was more Q&A, so I'm sure as heck don't want to listen to me talk, but is there any other questions maybe about the program or the vision or what kind of we're looking to get doing? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you here. Again, we want to make some field improvements out there. We've never been told, no, we may do that, but I think we've always came with, not with our hands out. We've come with some money, right? I mean, I think we've done what it comes down to, and I don't think we've ever asked for you to do everything for us. That's not really much of a partnership if we don't come with something like that. So, I guess just continue to at least listen to us and keep it going, I guess.
Yeah, and I'd just like to reiterate, when they first started Little League up in Fargo, they were just asking for some fields. They weren't demanding fields. They were saying, what can you put us on? And they were willing to take, what we had to offer. So I appreciate that. They didn't demand anything above and beyond that until they could help support it. And that's exactly what they did. And, Fargo Youth Baseball and and getting, as Jerry mentioned, getting post 2 to the table. This could be a pretty cool place out here, and it might not be a right away for the city, Jeff, but maybe we'll just have a trolley system out there so people can get from field to field, since it is such a big site. But yeah, and we're going to work towards that. We're going to work with post 2. I think they've got some people that are willing to be open-minded and post 400 and Fargo youth baseball. And I think this will be a key baseball hub in Fargo. And, you know, we've got a couple big tournaments going on up north. We've got Michelson, and I mean, West Fargo Moorhead's a pretty good hub for ball teams.
Yeah, and this helped me kind of, because when post 400 started, I kind of, as a sort of passive observer, was like, oh, we have 2 Legion teams now. And I assumed it was because of growth, and was like, oh, good for our community, right? We have 2 Legion teams now. There's enough kids to field the team. And so I didn't know, like, kind of the history
Well,
of that.
again, when I wasn't there originally, I just came involved, like I said, 6 years ago, but Rapid City has 2, Sioux Falls has 2, St. Cloud has 4. Why can't Fargo? And it obviously hasn't hurt the talent base of Fargo when 2 teams have went to the World Series in the last basically 2 years. Okay. So if somebody says, you know, oh, that's just, no, it's not. I mean, 6 teams have done it in 96 years. 2 have done it in the last 2.
Right.
I mean, I think that
It
shows
wasn't
you
the
the
same
quality.
team both times. It was one of you
Two
each of the
different
time, so it shows how.
Was it
Yeah.
back-to-back years? Or-
Well, it would have, the pandemic,
Oh,
excuse
yeah,
me,
COVID,
but
sure.
yeah,
But either way, that's pretty, and then, you know, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's, you know,
And
it's,
some youth Little League teams making
well,
it to
again, I
big
think it's the
tournaments.
investment that
Yeah,
you guys
World
and
Series, yeah.
past commissioners and directors have done to build facilities that are really good facilities for kids. I mean, we don't do it because we're really smart or really good looking. I mean, come on here. It's because we have really good kids, and and to get really good kids, you have to have top-notch facilities. It's like what I'm saying with these tournaments. You're not going to get top-notch tournaments and top-notch teams here if you don't have great facilities, flat out. It's not going to happen.
We're in a
That's not the world we
northern
live in.
climate versus Rapid City or Council Bluffs, a
Oh,
little
oh.
further south, so they're gonna have a little nicer weather probably, or earlier, nicer weather.
100%. And that's why with the turf, it was such a big deal for us, why we did in the spring. We went down to Florida, obviously, right? But our first month of the season, we played in Iowa and we played in South Dakota because the weather is so much more conducive to it. And most of them have turf fields. And then we were able to come back here in May, even though it still wasn't great, it was turf, we got it in. It wasn't that big a deal. So
Jeff, is there a limit to the number of teams a Legion organization can have?
there is not.
So we can add another Comets, we can add another.
Yeah,
can you have
100%.
More than one double.
100% you could,
Okay.
Vicky. I will say, and I say this with great pride. Do you know how many kids we've ever cut in my 6 years? And
0.
that's exactly right. We've never cut a kid. We started another team.
Yep.
And that's.
Yeah,
the way
I
we're
wasn't
gonna
sure
do
if
it.
if 3 was the limit. I knew that.
No,
you had
there
not
is no
cut
limit.
anyone. And that's hugely important to me that, you know, it's great when we have World Series teams and it's great when we have superstars and it's great when we have kids who, whether it's hockey or baseball or anything else, they go off to play college and whatever, but it's the numbers and the opportunities for every kid that's the most important, is how many kids are we getting to continue to play, to have the opportunity to play, and
And I would think
that's
right
what I like
now,
to see.
yeah, you have almost 100 kids playing Legion baseball in Fargo
Mhm.
between the 2 organizations. And I'll, whenever you just tell me to shut up, but I'm very proud of what was accomplished last year, right? I'm proud of what all this is. But my favorite story about the program was 2 years ago. We had a young man who didn't have a lot. Okay, he was a scholarship kid and he was not the most talented kid. Okay, and I came from Microsoft and I went into Starion Bank Field. And I saw this kid come out and he was crying. I immediately thought the worst. I told all those kids that would practice with him to get their butts in the dugout and I would deal with them afterwards. I grabbed the kid, I got him in the room and I said, "What is going on?" He's teared up, he's crying. And I said to him, "What happened?" And he looked at me and he said, "The guys." And I'm like, "Which one?" And I was gonna go get my pound of flesh. And he says, "You don't understand." And he shows me his glove. And I looked at his glove and I'm like, "I don't get it." All those kids went and chipped in $20 a piece and bought this kid a $300 Wilson A2000, the best glove you can buy. I started tearing up. I told the kid, you stay here. I ran back out to those kids and I said, get up to the locker room. I'm buying you all the pizza and Gatorade you can eat and drink tonight. That's what's the most important thing. Those kids did that for him. That's cool. And
they-
if
and
you
none
didn't
of
let
them-
us do that,
None of them
Vicky, it
told
wouldn't
their
happen.
mommies and daddies.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story. And I'm proud of that.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of kids that we have in this town. Because everybody says, all these kids, bull. There's great kids. We just got to have something like this for them, or the lacrosse field or the hockey rink or whatever. You give them something, they're awesome. So any other questions? You don't want to hear us anymore. But I will say this, I'm going to say this, though, one thing, because he's the treasurer guy. I'm going to let you know this, between all of what the park district has put in, what the foundation's put in, with what the donations we've gotten from Starian Bank and all the other organizations that I go and call way too much and hate my guts, and what we've done with gaming and other stuff, that right there, that field is about $1.75 to $1.8 million. That's what's been put into that thing in the last 3 years. Okay, so I just want you to know that, because there's some new people here and I don't want you to think this was like 50 grand, right? So that's 1.8 million bucks that's been put into that. And that's in older money, right? Right now, there's no way in heck you're gonna get that thing for under 3. So I just wanted you to know what the price tag was on that.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for letting us talk, guys. Appreciate it.
And you are
Thank you,
kind of
Jeff.
good looking, Jeff. So you're kind of good looking, so.
And that's coming from Jerry.
We got a ball game to go to, guys.
Nope,
All right.
of course you do.
Oh, by the way,
Yes, sir.
tell your son he forgot his money last night. Never takes his money like, didn't live down there.
I'm aware.
Thank you, guys. for being
Thank
here.
you.
See ya.
Number 4 on the agenda, Brock is going to make a presentation on the board considering approval of bank resolution.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. This is just standard procedure. Anytime we change officers, we do have our operating accounts at Bremer Bank, and the president, as well as the treasurer, who is myself, and the clerk, which is Dave Leaker, have signing authority. So anytime there's a change in officers, we have to change the banking resolution and get the appropriate signatures. So we present this agenda item to you for consideration of approval of the bank resolution as presented. If this passes, then we will secure the signatures at the end of the meeting.
I move we approve the bank resolution as presented.
Dave polled the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan. Thank you.
Added to our agenda today, the board is to consider approval of, what I understand it to be, is a grant application with the Land and Water Board is in that is in North Dakota, I assume.
Yep, and I'll let Dave Beese explain that one since he has more details.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Yeah, before you, as Dave mentioned earlier in the meeting, is a grant application for your reference, and why we needed to add this seemingly last minute. This grant we became aware of late last week. As a prerequisite of the grant, in order for us to be able to apply as a park district, we need the board to give us authorization to do so. We could do that in one of two ways. One way was to create a resolution, which we didn't have time to organize that. Another way is just by having it recorded in our minutes that our board is allowing staff to work on and apply for this grant application. It's a grant through the Land and Water Conservation Fund administered by the State of North Dakota Park and Recreation Department. Our goal for this grant is to go towards the Island Park pool. We're choosing that as the topic or the focus of the grant because in the SCORP, which is a scorecard that the state puts together, that surveys kind of all of the things and the needs that are needed throughout the state, aquatic facilities and swimming pools are ranked #1 in our region. And so we think it's a great fit for the Island Park project. So that's it in a nutshell. We would just like you to consider giving us that approval tonight so we can hit that prerequisite of the grant where our board gives us approval to apply. So any questions, I'd be happy to try and entertain them.
What's the dollar range?
There's a minimum of 30,000. We're asking right now what the maximum is. This is a grant I don't believe the Park District's ever applied for in the past. So we're asking that right now. Some of the past projects that we have seen are upwards into the $1 million range. So we're very hopeful that this is going to be a pretty high dollar opportunity for the Park District.
Well, if it's 16 million and we get it, it's perfect.
That would be the best. It's a 50-50 grant, so we would need then 8 million, but still, good nonetheless.
Well, I think it's a perfect fit in the context that too, you look at one of these things and it's like, oh, let's put this grant together. You know, it's a 50-50 match and what could we do? And then you come up with something and now all of a sudden you're obligated to providing 50% of the funds on something that you maybe weren't ready or prepared to do. Well, perfect timing because we're funding this project regardless. So if we can get, funding to go along with the funding we're going to do already, it's a no brainer. So
How did you happen along to find this grant?
You know, many of us are on a listserv with the North Dakota Parks and Rec Association, and they were the ones that sent out an email. I believe it was late Thursday afternoon last week. We then emailed amongst our team and we all said, hey, we got to get going on this. This is a perfect opportunity. So that's how we learned of the grant opportunity. I asked a few people I know in that agency, when did this become available? Because we would have loved to have more time to do this. Luckily, we have the work that's been done with the Island Park Master Plan that includes a lot of the information we can glean from that. So I think there's a lot there we can garner, but it's still going to require some staff time. But that's how we learned of it.
When's the deadline?
The 29th of July,
Coming up fast.
very quickly.
Yeah, so who does the grant writing?
You know, we don't really have anybody designated for that. Lexi with the foundation has worked over the course of the last several months on a few different grants. Some of us internally have written some grants. So we're kind of pooling our resources together. And today we had our first meeting outlining, what are the requirements of the grant? That's when I learned of this, and assigning deliverables to a bunch of different staff members so we can pull this information together.
Thank you.
I think
Yes.
we're halfway home when I read some of this stuff. We've got a lot of this through our trying to plan for Island Park Pool.
Exactly.
And you said pooling resources and didn't even realize the pun that you created. You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to approve the staff's decision to apply for the North Dakota Park and Recreation Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Dave, poll the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd like to just say one more thing and also directed toward Barry. He's been such a great companion, actually, at our board meetings. I enjoy his writing on not only the Park District, but everything else having to do with the city. Always very informative and well-written. And I know we're going to miss him. So have a wonderful trip to Europe. And I'm just wondering who's going to come instead. Who could fill your shoes? Oh, a new hire? Oh, okay.
Thanks, Barry.
Well, thank you. Enjoy your retirement.
Um,
Yeah.
Before we adjourn, I just wanted to mention if you guys, as far as the Cass Clay Disc Golf Club and the Fargo Park District, I just thought that was just a great use of how that all worked out. The fact that we had an organization who wanted to give us something new and that we can the existing equipment can be moved and provide, a disc golf course for someone else in a community nearby. I just think it's just perfect. That's how it should work, that we get something new and if there's useful life to it and there's somebody else in the community or a neighboring community that can make use of it, I just think that's fantastic. So, just let us know how it goes, because maybe we'll make a trip out to Castleton and check it out.
Will do.
Thank you.
Did it detail in there exactly where in Castleton it's going?
That it did not. So the only thing that we know is that Castleton's agreed to accept it, and that was part of the agreement with the Cass Clay Disc Golf Club, that if they were to receive the baskets, it would have to go to another public use.
I'm sure Brock will be out there finding land for it in no time. Out at the reservoir, probably.
Good. Any other further comments? Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, so.
Oh, he's all right. That's good. Now I gotta have Don sign these.